Think this group really loves when I make videos on buckets, my 3 buckets that I'm managing. It's the second quarter completion. We're into July here of 2022. As you know from my cadence, every quarter I do a deep dive in my buckets and look at the allocation and decide if I need to make any moves. I just did this, maybe 10, 15 days ago before I went to Florida for a week. That's why I haven't made any videos. So I thought I would share that analysis with you and just the thought process that I go through. Okay, please like and subscribe. I love when you do that. I don't mention that a lot, but this is my quarterly look at buckets. So, hey, bucket one, I'm looking at my finances, my spending that I'm doing. We got inflation going on at a pretty aggressive clip right now, but I'm at 3.8 years and, we're well into half a year. My target was 4 here, unless you had a bear market like we're in or the market's down. It's only down 0.2. My YouTube video revenue is up. So I'm making a little more money than I planned on. So, hey, that's nice, right? Nice making money. So I'm actually going to take no action there. The stock market's down, as you know. So no action. This is doing exactly what it should be. This is money that's 95% out of the market. I got some I bonds, got some money markets, just things that are really not into stocks. Okay, got some bonds in there, and just some cash in a savings account. Looking at some CDs for that, but I'm really just with my financial group, we're looking at other investments. Been looking at this probably for 2 years, what to invest your cash in that won't go down. So bucket one, hey, looks like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to be. I've actually got a little more in there. No action over here. Okay, take a look at bucket two. I got 3.5 years in there. And this is money that I need. I'm looking for years 4 to 8. I got target 4 years in there. Hey, my investments are down 12%. Okay, I'm in balanced funds there, down 12%. That's not a bad place to be if the market's down. I think at the time I did this, the S&P 500 was down 15%. So hey, I'm not in bad shape there. Okay, no action, bucket two. It's kind of boring doing these quarterly looks. No action. That's almost always what I do. People think buckets are hard and too complicated. I do an analysis, and the vast majority of the time, I do absolutely nothing. Okay, bucket number 3. I'm down 18%. At the same time, the S&P is down 15%. So I chose to deep dive into this to look at what I'm invested in. I'm invested in managed funds, and every quarter I compare to Vanguard funds. I compare to the total stock market. I'm just on, I'm looking at everybody out there saying, Joe, index. So am I losing? Let's take a look inside of this. Okay, the purpose of this video is not to go into a deep dive of each of my investments. These are my American accounts. There are 7 of them. I picked them all for a specific reason, but that's another video. But these are the ones I have. Here's the percentages: 20% of this one, 15% of all these, and 5% here of small cap world. The vast majority of these, they're looking at fundamentals. They're looking at undervalued stock. A lot of international inside of these. It's not just index, okay? If you look at them in totality, you're going to see 73% are large cap of the capital or of the stocks. 21% are mid cap, medium-sized companies, 7% small. So this is quite a bit different of a portfolio from an S&P 500, which is large cap. This is quite a bit different, like 30% it's not. Also, I have 17% international in there. Every one of these, I believe almost all of them, I'll have to double check that, have some sort of international component to them. 7% total of my bucket 3 is in cash, and only 5% is in bonds. That's in the American balance. But the portfolio managers here, they look at fundamentals, and decide where to invest. You know, basically a managed portfolio. And let's take a look at the Vanguard lineup that I tried to mirror this with the best I could. It was very difficult, especially when you look at going back longer time periods. It's very hard. Like, for example, VTI, Total Stock Market Index, started in, I believe it's 2001. So if I'm trying to go back farther than that, I have to select another index. That's it just gets a little more complicated. But so this is my attempt at trying to go with good fundamental companies, whether large, medium, or small, based on what these professional advisors or and market analysts think makes sense and where the opportunity is. A lot of international here. All right, here's my Vanguard lineup. And what I do is I say, based on my experience, based on my risk profile, where would I invest using Vanguard funds? Total stock market, these are the symbols that I used. I won't refer to them anymore. Total stock market, 50%. Can't use VTI because it couldn't go back as far as I wanted it to go. Total international, I only wanted to be about 10%. And my American funds, that's crept up to 17%. That's a big difference, but that's based on fundamentals, okay, that the analysts are going with. I like the Wellington Fund. This is a direct comparison to the American Balanced Fund. That's exactly the same, 15% as what I have in the American portfolio. And then to try to replicate, I like to have a value lean. This is just me. I like to have a slant towards value. So I use the Russell 1000 to get some small caps in there. You got some small ones in here as well. But again, that's dominated by the big techs. But let's put the Russell 1000 in here just to have a little more slant towards some value, 25%. So fairly simple portfolio. And I go into Portfolio Visualizer with these funds, compared to the American funds that are managed, and let's see how it looks. All right, hopefully you're hanging with me. I've got a lot of numbers I'm throwing at you, but this is what you guys have asked me for. So down this column, I'm going to look at year-to-date, 2022, and then I chose to look at 5.5 years. And the reason I did that is we're halfway through 2022. I wanted to look at a longer time period. Stocks are long time period investments. So I wanted to go at 5 years and ended up at 5.5 because I didn't want to throw away this bear market, right? That's not fair. Then I looked at 11.5 years, and really that brought us to 2010. To 2010, that was just a nice round number where some of the investments in Vanguard, they timed out where I had good data with their, so it's a long period of time. Again, I was targeting 10 and I would have loved to have 10.5 there, but I ended up with 11.5. And then I looked at 20.5 years, 30.5 years, again, to include this bear is why all the 0.5s are there. And then I got a little bonus section here, 2000 to 2010. Remember, we had two big bear markets inside of that time period. We had the Great Recession, and then we also had the dot-com there. So let's take a look at that. AF stands for My American Fund Portfolio. And then I'll use the total stock market. I'm going to use the initials TSM for that, okay? And then Vanguard, I just say Vanguard. So let's take a look at year-to-date. My American funds are 3% lower than the S&P 500. Keep in mind, the S&P 500 does have small cap, no mid cap, no international, and I've got a lot of that in my portfolio because the analysts looking at it think those are the right things, but hey, they're losing. So that's the reason for this analysis. Not only is it once a quarter, but hey, I'm trailing here. What's going on? Do I trust these guys? What's their track record? Okay, so let's look at 5.5 years. This is all in Portfolio Visualizer, includes all fees. Now, American funds, since I have over $1 million in my portfolio, I don't pay any transaction fees. I pay no sales, no load, nothing. Okay, so this is just only thing that's in here is the expense ratio. That's factored into this analysis. So the American funds exactly equaled Vanguard. Actually, this has been a surprise. This is the first time this ever happened. In my other quarterly analysis, American funds was always beating it. But hey, it's a tie. The total stock market will beat Vanguard and American funds by 2%. So, hey, why not just invest in VTI, right? Total stock market. A lot of people do that, put everything in there. Hey, let it ride and just enjoy life, okay? Well, let's go a little longer period. So it looks like, at least competing equally here, and that's counting expense ratios. VTI may be the way to go. Now we go at 11.5 years. American funds beat the Vanguard comparison, the ones that I, based on my risk profile, wanted to invest in. Not what my American funds guys did. They're leaning harder over here, right, with the small and the mid and international. But the American funds beat by 0.31. That's per year for 11.5 years. Folks, that's huge. That's a big number. But the total stock market, a little less, but 1.4. So you may say, hey, again, Joe, why don't you go into total stock market? I understand, you're equal here, better here. Okay, let's see. Let's go out to 20.5 years. American funds beat Vanguard by 0.5. Bigger number, okay? Going back 20.5 years. Total stock market was less than American funds by 1.4%. So American funds swept the board here. 0.5 over the Vanguard comparison funds and 1.4 over the total stock market. Oh, that's interesting. Let's take a look at 30 years. American funds beat the total stock market by 0.5%. And then there was no comparison for Vanguard. It got hard to compare. If stock funds aren't in existence, you can't compare them. So I gave up on that. But hey, in the beat the total stock market in the 20 and 30 year time period. And just for interest, it's, you get to play around portfolio visualizer. It's pretty cool. Let's look at 2000 to 2010. Did the American fund versus the Vanguard fund comparison funds. American funds beat by 2.15. So really did good during those longer periods. So, you take a look at this. American funds tied here. They beat here, they beat here, they beat here, and they beat here across the board, other than year to date. So, hey, I'm not going to panic in a year to date when I have such a great track record with American funds. I've been with American funds maybe 35 years now. So I have enjoyed all of this. I'm not just looking back and comparing. I've enjoyed all of this. So what am I doing as a result of my Q2 deep dive into buckets 1, 2, and 3? Bucket 1, like I said, I'm going to do nothing. Bucket 2, I'm going to do nothing. Bucket 3, I'm actually squirming. That's a technical term for you. I'm not sure I like being 17% international. So I'm meeting with my financial advisor that I pay zero to. He gets paid out of the expense ratio of the American funds. I get to talk to them as much as I want. And I'm going to really try to understand this 17% that I have in international. Just on my own, I'd like to be around 10. And I want to dive into maybe how much I have in mid cap and small cap as well. Just a little more than I feel comfortable with. But the advisors have a nice, it's gone now, but they have a nice track record of performing. And the key for me doing this deep dive, I'm basically going to do nothing, but I got a lot of comfort in the American funds that those portfolio managers know what they're doing. Yeah, they're losing the game right now. They're losing the game in 2022 for the first 6 months, but they really have won the game going back as long as I've been investing 35 years. So this is what I do. This is probably half of what I do for my deep dive once a quarter. The other half is I look at my expenses. Okay, so I add up all the expenses, special expenses, and I got some special expenses. My daughter's getting married in August, so I got all that stuff peeling out of my funds, and I had it set aside It's not affected my normal spend rate. So I look at my spending rate, which is right on target. Actually, slightly $100 a month less is what I'm spending now than what I budgeted, and I'm making a little bit more money. So my bucket one is actually in very good shape. Not doing anything with bucket two, not doing anything with bucket three. That's my quarterly analysis of my buckets. Hope that helped. Give me questions. It's Joe out.